If you've ever meditated for more than a few days, you've probably hit that point where you wonder, is this actually working? You see the numbers on an app go up, but are you actually changing? Well, today we're going to explore a completely different way to look at progress. It's a much deeper map of the mind, all based on the incredible work of the late Daniel P. Brown.
Right? So you've got the app on your phone, you're building up that daily streak, you're watching those minutes on the cushion climb higher and higher, and it feels pretty good. But let's be honest, does a 100-day streak really mean you're making real progress? Or could it be that we've been tracking the wrong thing this whole time?
And this is where the difference is just night and day. On one side, you have the common metrics, right? Time and streaks. It feels productive. But Dan Brown's approach is all about something else entirely, the quality of your awareness. We're talking about specific, observable, verifiable shifts in how your mind operates. It's the difference between just feeling accomplished and actually knowing you're making progress.
So yeah, let's look beyond that daily streak. The idea here is rooted in ancient Tibetan traditions, which describe meditative progress in these very distinct stages called rinpa. Now, Brown's huge insight was realizing these weren't just some poetic metaphors for feeling a little more calm. No way. They were more like a technical manual for the mind, describing specific states that anyone could actually learn to access. Okay, so our first stop on this new map is all about concentration. The framework for this is called the elephant path, and what's amazing about it is that it gives us a surprisingly clear and even quantifiable way to measure our ability to just focus.
You can really think of these 9 stages of the elephant path in 3 big chunks. The first phase is all about gaining control, just learning to get your mind to stay put. Then you move into refining clarity, where you're dealing with much subtler stuff, like a little bit of sleepiness or a tiny bit of restlessness. And finally, you get to achieving mastery, where concentration just becomes totally, completely effortless.
And you can literally see how tangible this is. In these early stages, you can actually measure it. It's the percentage of time your attention stays on whatever you're focusing on. A beginner, they might be around 50%. But by stage 3, you could be hitting 80, even 90%. This isn't just a vague feeling of being more focused. It's a real, measurable upgrade to your mental hardware.
So what's the point of all this training? What's the goal? Well, it leads to a state the old texts call mental serviceability. Just imagine a mind that's so fast, so precise, and so clear that it can stay on anything you want it to for as long as you want. Not just in meditation, but out in the real world. That is what we're talking about. But as powerful as that is, concentration is really just the launching pad. The next set of metrics, this is where things get truly transformative. They track a fundamental shift in your mind's entire home base, its whole basis of operation.
So, just for a second, ask yourself this. Where does your mind usually live? What's its default setting, its home base? Are you constantly lost in thought, caught up in analyzing and planning? Or is it resting somewhere else? This question is at the absolute heart of the next set of metrics.
So this basis of operation, what does that even mean? Well, it's basically the state of consciousness you're functioning from moment to moment. For almost all of us, that home base is thought. We live inside our heads. Real deep meditative progress is measured by your ability to shift that home base, to move it from the world of thought into a state of pure, open awareness.
So how does that shift actually play out? It all comes down to the speed of recognition. Early on, you might only notice the thought after it's already grabbed you and triggered some emotion. But with practice, you get faster. You learn to catch it the very instant it arises. And eventually, you get to a point where thoughts just appear and dissolve on their own, already empty of any power to hook you. It becomes automatic.
Okay, I know what some of you are probably thinking. This all sounds great, but how do we know these internal states are actually real? How do we know it's not just wishful thinking? And that's where Brown's work gets so incredibly rigorous. He used a whole suite of methods to objectively validate these very subjective experiences.
This is what makes the whole framework so solid. See, he didn't just rely on one thing. He combined deep analysis of the ancient texts with thousands of detailed reports from modern-day meditators. And then, and this is the amazing part, he cross-referenced all of that with neuroscience, using EEG scans and even behavioral studies. Each piece of the puzzle helped confirm the others.
And this was absolutely key. During long retreats, the data from the EEG scans acted as confidence elements. Practitioners could literally see objective proof on a screen that their brains were shifting into the exact states described in texts from 1,000 years ago. It gave them the confidence that, no, this isn't just in your head. This is real. It's measurable.
So we have these amazing metrics for concentration and for awareness, but honestly, the most important metric of all isn't what's happening when you're sitting quietly with your eyes closed. It's how all these changes actually show up in the middle of your messy, complicated, everyday life.
And here's how it connects. That internal practice of seeing thoughts as empty, that translates directly into you being less emotionally reactive when your boss says something frustrating. That shift in perspective, what Brown called all-at-onceness, seeing the big picture, that can show up as just spontaneous compassion for someone. The practice doesn't stay on the cushion, it bleeds into every corner of your life.
And at the really advanced levels, the change is just profound. Negative states like anger or jealousy, they aren't just managed better, they begin to be systematically rooted out. The texts have this amazing term for it, dharma dhatu exhaustion. It's like the fuel for negativity just runs out. And at the same time, you don't have to try to be wise or compassionate. Those qualities just start to flourish all on their own.
And it's so important to remember that this entire map of the mind, this incredible detailed framework, is a synthesis that was developed over 4 decades by Dr. Daniel P. Brown. He's the one who blended this ancient wisdom with modern science in such a powerful way.
Which really brings us to the final question, the one I want to leave you with. It's so easy to focus on what's happening in your head for those 10 or 20 minutes a day, but the real measure of your practice is out there. So, your practice might be changing your mind, but the real question is it changing your life?